Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning. I just took a drink of water and choked on it, so like, oh, hold on, I never turned on the lights. All right, guys, we got PCE coming up here in a little bit. Let's come and check the damage from yesterday. Well, Treasuries sold off on the GDP news. Not huge, but a pretty decent move there. Still kind of above this bad jobs numbers. S&P 500 also selling off quite a bit yesterday, but I don't know, maybe they were able to stem the bleeding. I'm kind of bet there will be more today just because it's Friday, right? Oil taking some solid gains, and just below some longer term resistance there. Gold and silver holding their gains. Silver still looking amazing. Copper. Well, copper looks like it's taking another leg lower, so market still sorting this one out. Japanese yen also taking a beating yesterday, and the dollar all the way up to 98, which is $2 is a pretty big move. Okay, and the Bitcoin. So earlier in the week, this kind of fall off. Some people calling it a flash crash in Bitcoin. Oh wait, that wasn't earlier in the week. That was yesterday. But Bitcoin is not looking so hot. Okay. Actually, if you go and look at a stock chart of MSTR on the daily, it's really scary looking. Really scary looking. So there's some deleveraging going on across markets. Basically, they've decided that actually maybe they're not going to like bring down interest rates as quickly as we thought. And so everybody's selling everything. I killed Bitcoin. I wish. I'm just waiting for it to get to that little spot and just watch them jump over the edge. But you know that when that happens, that Tether will just come into the rescue, right? Unless there's a real crash. I think that if I was one of the people that was super rich in like if I was a Bitcoin whale, right? That if it really started to go down, I would be panicking and selling, because not everybody's going to be able to pull dollars out, right? The Tether is inflating the system with fake dollars that don't exist. That means that not everybody's going to be able to exit. Like, the earliest people are going to get out and run away with all of the money, and then everybody else will be left trying to, fighting for scraps, trying to figure out what happened, because it turns out there wasn't actually any money there. I bought one share of iBit to get me some exposure to it and build a position, and Bitcoin was at 121K or whatever, and I won't get there ever again until I sell that one share. All the way up at 121. Something with my keyboard here didn't feel right. What's going on? 6930 to kill the world's biggest cryptocurrency isn't a bad. I got it. You know what? The other day, did I tell you guys this story? I think I might have told you this story, but I don't think that Uzi was around for this story. A week or two ago, I got a text that like somebody had hacked my Coinbase account or something like that. And they, they would call me to do something about it. So somebody calls me and is going through the thing, and they're like, this is like an account more than $10,000 or something like that. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. And they immediately hung up. They immediately hung up. So then I went in and looked at it. Pulled out all the credentials, logged into the account just to make sure that there hadn't actually nothing had happened. There wasn't like any attempts or anything like that. And it turns out that I did have I did have some Bitcoin in there. We're going to call you as immediate scam. Yeah. Well, they texted me first of all is the thing. So I mean, I do have banks that will do something like that if there's fraudulent activity, and those were legit. So I don't think that it's explicitly that they call you, but better if you're calling them for sure. Anyways, I had there's like taps out there, like you go and you visit a URL and give them your wallet, and they'll just give you a teeny tiny portion of Bitcoin, like 5 cents or something like that, right? So apparently I had done that, and that 5 cents had like doubled to 11 cents or something like that. So there was some Bitcoin in there. But I did kind of laugh because I explicitly remember going, I don't think that any of, because I was around in the Mount Gox days. I was laughing my butt off when Mount Gox happened, okay? Oh, by the way, we just got the news. Why I didn't turn on the news squawk here. KCE price index. Month over month. Are you gonna give it to me? Consumer spending higher than expected, spot 6 versus spot 5. But that I don't think should surprise us. I was surprised though that they texted me first and then called. And that they were so brazen to like ask, say something that there's a lot in the account and then hang up if it's not worth their time. How was that trade? No, it was perfect. It hit the target. It looks like I could have gotten 1 or 2 ticks more on both sides, but overall it worked really well. Yeah, now the thing that surprised me yesterday wasn't that trade worked as well as it did. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. It does. It sure seems to me like that those levels are pretty good levels to look at. But the robot hit it perfectly, like to the tick, 3 times in a row. Couldn't believe it. I think that was like, we've gone through this thing where when we first started the algorithm, right, we were in a really active market and it did really well, and we were like, wow, how is it that good? But obviously it's not going to work forever. And then we've gone through this whole time period where I'm like, yeah, see, we were just lucky at the beginning, right? And then we get back into the active market and it's absolutely perfect. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and it works the first time you try it perfectly. Yeah, I guess it was perfect. Well, let's not say perfect. But I don't think that the imperfection was the strategy per se, right? The imperfection was like, oh, well, I decided to do it this way, and maybe it would be better doing it this way. But those are the sorts of things where it's kind of like, that probably changes. Like, I'm a little bit wary, just like, okay, I would expect options levels to matter. I think in the past, I've kind of, at least the volatility projected range, because when we were doing that with ES, right, it was kind of a complicated thing. It wasn't necessarily working like super amazing, right? And I was always kind of like, well, yeah, but you'll see it at the point that it's happening. You know what I mean? But I think that what changed things with that one is that we see that opportunity to kind of take a little bit of a mean reversion trade all the time. And my feeling on it is always, well, it's not worth the risk, right? The chances of them going further is, you know, just kind of all of those things. So like in that case, is it like that extra little thing to give you some more confidence? I'm not convinced that like if I just focused on that one trade that it would be profitable for us over the long run, but I think in that particular scenario, it was perfect. It fit perfectly. Okay, so the PCE came in line. Did finally get the number. Yeah, it's good for risk management. Just makes picking an entry. You can take trades for whatever reason within those ranges, I'd say, yeah. Let's figure out today's optimal close. Well, for that one, I think we should probably go to the CME data, huh? Let's see here. That's what we want. Open interest profile. Select the product. Interest rates, US interest rates, 10-year. EY 25. Wait, am I crazy here? TYZ 5. TYZ 5. Interesting. 113.5 was the most volume, but we're closer to 112.5. Interesting. Really hate it when I'm like putting my mouse over something and like some little scroll down thing pops up. I'm eating a bowl of grapes and don't tell me about that. I hate grapes. Ew. Yeah, bad grape. That just sounds even more gross. Ugh. Okay. So it kind of feels to me like we are already outside of where everybody was putting all of their volume. Yeah. because they were like at 114, 115 and a half. Definitely under 113. Yeah. Like I would say that the closest strike right now is 112 and a half. That's probably where we're going to get pinned. Or rather, we're already pinned. Right? I don't know. I don't think I've ever looked at this where, like, the open interest levels were surprising to me. I guess it is a little bit surprising to me that there was that much activity in the 114 and 115 range. Oh, look, you can show the Greeks. Ooh. If something super crazy were to happen, like let's say that something comes out over the news squawk, President Trump to present declaration of war to Congress tonight against Russia. Okay, like let's say that happened. That'd be super crazy, right? And we moved a whole handle on just instantly on the news, so we're up at 113 half. Probably at that point, then I would think that Gamma would start to take control, right? Yeah, somewhere around there. The first column is calls, right? Yeah. Because once you get past like 114, probably the options market makers have to buy more. I'm kind of guessing a little bit from the thing you would want to do the exact calculations, but that's where I think that sort of thing would matter. I kind of don't want to turn my robot on. You know what I need to do is I just need to set it up so that when you start it, it adds some controls on here, and I can tell it I only want longs or I only want shorts or something like that. You know, the market seems to really watch the PCE. And I don't think I've ever seen a situation where like there was a big surprise in PCE and like the market really moved on it. No? Inside bid offer is a little thin is another tell. So you know, there was one thing that happened yesterday that I don't think we ever really got a solid answer for. Usually when we see this, so what happened was, you know, we had the move down and then the mean reversion that we were able to pick out, and then it started to move back down. And when it started to move back down, we started to see very, very heavy liquidity in the 10-year. Like we were seeing 7,000 at each price. That's unusually high. Like you're getting into some of the highest levels of liquidity I've ever seen when you're talking 7,000s. Certainly the highest we've seen since 2019. And when it was 2019, that was crazy, right? So it was really weird that we were seeing that, and I kind of thought, okay, is somebody doing like a flip sort of a thing where they bought it up and now they're going to sell it down again? But they never made a new low. It just kind of settled from there. So I thought that was very curious. Man, the kids were in here again, and their grubby little hands. They got it all over my mouse pad. Rox says it's because you can figure out what PCE will be from earlier. Well, yeah. Most of it. There are some components of PCE that you can't do that with. But you're right that most, like PCE is not considered a large mover because most of the components in PCE are released earlier in the PCI and CPI reports. The PPI and CPI. So, but because the Fed says it's their favorite measure and other various reasons that are more recent, like the market does care about it. There are people that like hold off and wait for that before they do stuff. I don't get it. It's kind of frustrating to me because it suppresses volatility for no reason, you know? It kind of looks to me like at the moment they're playing the market maker game here where my robot will go and take a trade every time and it's wrong every time. Maybe it is time that I start to go in and build a random forest algorithm. I think I want to finish the bit that I'm doing on making my own platform first. I don't know. You know, I feel more and more like lacking direction. Like usually I know exactly what it is, the thing that I think I should be doing. And my issue is there's so many things that I want to do and I'm so ADHD that I kind of forget which ones I think are the most important and don't stick with it long enough. Don't have a focus on it long enough. I saw a TikTok yesterday where they're like, my ex worked for TikTok, and so now I'm going to tell you all of the secrets that he told me. And some of the secrets that were like, no, that can't be true. Where are you getting that? You're going to have to prove that to me. One of the things that they claimed was that TikTok monitors what other apps you use. And if you use Instagram more, they'll penalize your posts. Which I thought was ridiculous. I don't think that TikTok has, well, they have a lot of permissions, so the app might have permissions, but I don't know how they would even do that. I'm really skeptical about that one. Another one was that they said that you will like have intentional dry spells where it's like you just won't promote your posts. And they're doing that to see if you keep posting through it. Like it's testing you. And that I also like, no, I think that's bullshit. Because I've posted through dry spells like that for a long time. And so as of late, I've kind of been like, well, it's really hard to make a TikTok when I come home after work. I think that it's probably better for me to not prioritize short form content. Not to mention that, like, what I can do with short form content is news. I don't know if the news bit really works for me for whatever reason. And, you know, the thing that I really care about is teaching people about market microstructure and complexity economics. I don't think that works really well on short form content anyway. Okay, so that one's deprioritized. I got some projects, right? we want to build our own software, trading software company, right? We want to build the platform that we want that involves Rust and Python and all of that stuff. It's a complicated thing. It requires a lot more upfront investment. It would be expensive development. So we having existing revenue flows would help, because there's probably no way that you're going to be able to fund that through like angel investors and things like that, right? So I guess that means that I need to work harder on our existing revenue streams with the NinjaTrader indicators. I guess. I don't know. But I've never had any success with that. And I'm not sure what I should be doing that would help us sell the indicator more so that we can build our own platform. But I think at the moment, because we've done so well with the other content, you know, that I should be focused on that, building the platform and promoting the indicators. Trading is hard to make short form content because you can say, look, I won this trade, or look, I lost this trade. Well, but then the thing is that I look at other people that appear to be having success at the moment, at least, and I feel like, you know, like, what is it that's allowing them to take off? And I don't know, because and so I'm like, well, I was way more persistent. I had better content. I had better this, that, and the other. It's just me, I guess. I guess it's just me, and there's nothing I can do about it. So then there's my other idea. It's like, well, maybe the reality is that I'm just not capable of selling it well. That because of my proximity to it and everything that I understand about it, I'm not capable of relating it to other people and understanding what's going to attract other people to it. And so I need somebody else that's not as involved. So I don't know if it could be any of you guys either. But somebody that's disconnected from trading enough to be able to come in and promote it. That's kind of been my most recent thinking. Just swing big fake numbers and the pigeons will flex you. But I'm not gonna do that. Right? That's where it's like, well, but that's what makes you're not effective at being able to promote it. So I know that there's you can't say that there's a probability of reward without saying that there's an equal probability for risk. But somebody that doesn't know that, they just come in and they promote it, and I don't know. Well, I guess that's another thing, is that I never had the intention to become popular or famous just off of the fact that I stream, right? I kind of prefer that we have a really good core audience that just stays consistent, and that we don't have to deal with all of the problems of large communities and stuff like that, right? Like the few periods that we have had where there was a lot of people, it was kind of annoying, right? So then that kind of brings me to like, maybe we're fine. Seth, you feel like that you have to be grinding something, that you have to be working towards something, when really you should just learn to be and be happy with being. And if you're really good at that, maybe it will just come to you. You know? But then this whole Charlie Kirk thing happened. And I can't tell you, man, how much I am bothered by some of the crap that I see online now. It is this week. Like, okay, after Charlie Kirk, that was crazy. I saw some crazy stuff. I'm very, very concerned about some of the things that I see online and that I see on Reddit. But it was not as much of a zoo as this flurry of activity that we're seeing now after Trump and RFK Jr. came out and said that, you know, presented this study to people that links Tylenol use to autism. Oh my gosh, so much stuff out there. And there are, of course, people doing stupid things like overdosing on Tylenol. My goodness. You know, like Tylenol is like the most common overdose. Yeah, be careful with it. Man. And I see so much misinformation about it too. Both ways. It drives me crazy, guys. It drives me. I can't stand it. Can't stand it. Why is it that nobody on the internet can make a coherent argument based on empirical evidence? Like, I thought, oh, okay, now we're talking about studies. Now we're talking about numbers and data. People are going to talk about empirical evidence. And they don't. Like, even if you go to a place where it's like they're supposedly going to be talking about numbers, right? And you say something, you're going to get all of these comments that are basically like, if you say something that even has a semblance of that it supports what Donald Trump and JFK said, people are going to bring up that you're a Donald Trump worshiper or something like that, which is, I think, is absolutely crazy. Like, no, we're talking about empirical evidence. How come you don't want to talk about, or they don't want to look at all of the empirical evidence, right? That's the one that I see the most right now, is that there was a study done with Harvard and was it Johns Hopkins, I think, right? Which was a meta-analysis, and it was done by a researcher that kind of has an axe to grind that was involved in a lawsuit against Tylenol and all that sort of stuff. So there's a bias. Sure, that's true, but what matters is the empirical evidence. Let's talk about the empirical evidence. Well, they don't want to talk about the 46 studies that in the Harvard study. They only want to talk about the one study that supports their conclusion that there is no link. Well, okay, it's interesting because there was a bunch of studies that said that there was a link, and then they said, no, you need to control for family factors and like genetics and things like that, which would make sense because genetics probably is the biggest factor in autism and ADHD. Okay, genetics is not the only factor, but it's probably the biggest factor. Okay, so controlling for that would be good, but then that does introduce other errors. So then those studies, there's two studies that use what they call sibling control to say, okay, there's a case where there was two siblings, and one of them got autism or ADHD, and one of them didn't. Did one of them, they have Tylenol use during the pregnancy, and one of them didn't. But then you have to come into this issue with classification errors. So like the woman says that she didn't use Tylenol, and she actually did because she misremembers. So in one of the two sibling control studies, they come out with like what percentage of pregnancy of women use Tylenol during pregnancy, and in their study it's like 4 to 6%. When most studies, like all the other studies that we've had on this, the percentage is closer to 40 to 60%. Okay. So that's classification error. There's people that are taking it that aren't saying it because of the way that they did the study, because they're getting it from medical records. And it could be well, yeah, they didn't have Tylenol dispensed during their pregnancy, but they had it at home and they used it. So over the counter, right? Probably what's going on there. And then there's the other one. If their number is off by even 5 to 10%, that would void the results of the study. Classification. Or people where they said, oh, they don't have autism, but actually they do have autism and they don't get diagnosed until later in life. So classification errors are a serious issue with these studies, right? So I don't think that you can say like any one of these studies proves it. I think that where we're going is I would be leaning towards that there is not actually a link, or at least that there's not a significant link, right? If you take too much Tylenol, it could absolutely hurt the baby. And there's things that can happen beyond just autism and ADHD, okay? So like, you have a fever, it's important to keep a fever down, okay? But don't use Tylenol if you don't have to. That's always been the recommendation from Tylenol themselves. That's always been the recommendation, right? Okay, but so I think we're leaning towards that there's not a link, or that if there is a link, it's super, super, super tiny, right? But we can't prove that. We need further studies to deal with the classification error. All right, so that's my position. My position is we can't confirm or disprove the hypothesis. And if you say that to people, oh my gosh, you just get some of the craziest responses. And it just makes me not want to deal with the internet at all. Because I can see that in large groups, large populations, trying to have an empirical discussion about things is just kind of never going to happen. How about Comey Uzi's bestie? He's not my bestie, he's my uncle, though. Is he really your uncle? You know what? That one is going to be interesting. So I'm not too familiar with the specifics of the case yet. I tried to do a little bit of reading about it yesterday. This is another thing that really bothers me, is I will, in arguments on Reddit especially, I will bring something up. Something that's like commonly known about a subject. Like that there are criticisms with the sibling control studies because of misclassification errors. And I expect somebody having a debate about that to know those things. And if they don't know those things, to go and look it up. But on the internet, it's like if you say something like that, they don't go, oh, wait, maybe I should go and do a Google search. No, they're like, you're making that up. Fucking kidding me? And then when they doubt you and you go and you provide sources for the things, they won't read them. They're like, no, I want you to spend 6 hours writing an essay for me that I'm not going to read. You're wasting my time. I had this person argue with me because they were arguing about studies about, how much left-wing versus right-wing violence there is. Because those studies are so flawed. The data sets that they're pulling from are ridiculous. Like if you went through and you looked at every incident that they have in their database and was like, okay, was this political violence? And if it was this left-wing or right-wing violence, and you classified it, it'd be ridiculous. You find that like 80% of them really don't fit into what we think of as political violence. It's crazy. Like most of it is prison violence. I really don't think that prison violence should count. That should automatically disqualify it. It's crazy. And so I bring this up and they're like, nah, you're making that up. So I pull all these blogs and people criticizing it and everything. It's like, you can read it. Like these people wrote like 5,000 words about it. Why should I waste my time if somebody else has already done it better? They don't want to read it. And this person was doing all sorts of crazy gymnastics to try and justify not reading it. It's so crazy. So crazy. People on Reddit in particular are so fucking stupid. Okay. So meanwhile, Seth is a streamer and he's on YouTube. So like if I say something, like it's on there forever and people could bring it up again. So I tried to make sure as best I can. I think sometimes you lose focus, sometimes you're just wrong about things, but I do my best, okay, to try and make sure if I say something, it's accurate, okay? So I'm not 100% up to date with all of the charges. I know that there are 2 charges. One is obstruction of justice and one is lying under oath, right? And he definitely lied under oath. I'm not quite sure where they come in with the obstruction of justice, but you're talking about just those 2 charges. I know. I'm sorry. I went on a huge long tangent there. One of the things that's really weird with the ADHD here, Liz, that like I have the executive control to be able to go off on a tangent and then come back to the thing and still finish it. And I'll probably still lose people though. There's another tangent. Okay. It's really, really hard to prosecute people for like lying under oath or obstruction of justice in this kind of scenario. But you know what? I think that they're going to do it. It requires a grand jury, which basically means like a bunch of judges and people in DC, and you have to get a majority of them to vote that they should be indicted. So like being able to even indict somebody like that is really, really hard. So just the fact that they were able to indict Comey means pretty high probability that they will be able to convict him. I don't know if those charges are really huge deals, though. Like, I think that what's going to happen, and here I would love to hear from a legal expert on this, but my guess is that they actually do convict him and he is guilty, and then he goes to prison for like 2 years, right? It'll be like a slap on the wrist. So, but it's interesting that that's happening. And I must say, I have to admit that I am definitely seeing Donald Trump and the Republican Party start to use the power that they have. They're doing it in ways that I don't like. I mean, to me, these are all things that like we really shouldn't do that in democracy, though. Like punishing our political enemies with prosecution. Like, well, maybe they did it, but like you're kind of creating a situation that I think is not really positive for politics, right? But the problem is like we weren't the ones that started doing it, right? Like that river has already been crossed a long time ago. That river has already been crossed. Now the Republicans are just doing what had been done to them. I don't know where that goes, but it's getting interesting. Understand, in every regime, every president, when they, especially if they are president and they have the House of Representatives, they will utilize that power to do things that will make it easier for them to get reelected in the future. They do. And Democrats, during Obama, especially so. Okay, the mechanisms, the way that they use their power to bully and influence social media is just mind-blowing. And we all knew it. We talked about it here at the time. We knew what was going on, and so many people were still in denial about it. We knew it was happening, and kind of looks like it's going to go the other way now. Like Larry Ellison and Rupert Murdoch are going to own TikTok. You don't think that that's going to possibly affect what kind of content goes viral on TikTok? I do. There's lots of left-wingers there that I really can't imagine why they're popular other than that somebody at TikTok decided to boost them. You know? So, the Comey case, I think, is, you know, like it's going to seem like a footnote, right? I don't think that that's probably going to be like story number one. But in terms of the sorts of things that I look at with politics, like where are politics going and what sort of things are happening that will predict whether, you know, what will happen in the next election and ergo what will happen for markets, that's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. Especially if they're able to successfully prosecute him. So there's lots of people that abused their power during the Biden administration. You know, if they're able to be found guilty and pay for it, that's gonna shift the political landscape a lot. Maybe it would be a good thing. Yeah, 3 years of Russia. Yeah, it was crazy. I am kind of like talking about negative things, but maybe there will be some good things from it too. You know, maybe next time they'll think twice before they're like, hey, let's abuse our power to make it easier for ourselves to get elected next time by like abusing the judicial system. If we were able to fix that, that would be a good thing, right? What else? There's some other news going on. I think we covered it though. You know, there's something else on my mind though, and this goes back to the Charlie Kirk thing, because I saw a video yesterday, and this person was making the argument that like, well, the reason that the left is so willing to commit violence is because they've equated violence with speech. Or they've equated speech with violence. So if saying certain things is equivalent to violence, then that means that a violent response is justifiable. It's just self-defense, right? I don't think that that's what's going on, honestly. I mean, that happens. Like there are people on the left wing that say like silence is violence and all that sort of stuff, right? But I don't, if you look at the polling is that like 46% of Democrats say that sometimes political violence is okay. I think that the whole thing, when you really look at like what is the difference between the right and left in the classical sense, the difference between them is the left were the people that sat on the left side of the Congress after the French Revolution, and they were the ones that wanted to radically change society. And then the people on the right were the ones that were like, well, yeah, the revolution is good, and it's good that the king is out of power, but we don't want to like throw the baby out with the bathwater. And you know, there are some things that were working well we need to keep, right? That's conservatism, right? So leftism is intrinsically connected to revolution, which is violence, right? So it would be weird, frankly, to see right-wingers think that violence is justified more than left-wingers, right? It's like inherent in their ideology. But we're like, we're not like at the beginning of the French Revolution. I think most, we might be unhappy with the way that things are going. I think that most people generally support the Constitution, for instance, right? Don't want to completely tear the country down and have a new Constitution, right? But it turns out that enough people in the left are upset about things that they are willing to have a quote unquote revolution. So that's really what that means to them when they say they're willing to commit violence, right? So I say, it's in their ideology that it's okay to commit violence, and the only thing that's stopping them is, one, if they think that it's actually necessary, like that the situation is as such that we need to use violence to achieve our goals. Two, that it would actually be effective. And three, that their own life is significantly crappy enough that they can just throw it away. That's really what it comes down to, right? So those are if you want to prevent violence, those are the three things that you can deal with. And I think that the biggest one there is if it will help them, right? If they're willing to commit violence and they think that committing the violence will help their political cause, they will do it. So what do you do about that? You make sure that the violence doesn't help them, right? The best thing that America could do right now to help prevent violence in the future is to send a resounding message against this kind of terrorism in the next midterm elections. You have the midterm elections and the left gets absolutely eviscerated at every turn. People will think twice about committing political violence. They'll go, oh, that doesn't help our side. Maybe I shouldn't do that. And you won't see as much of it. If you start changing things and giving into the left and giving them what they want because they committed violence, you're going to see more violence, not less. Which is the argument that I'm seeing that on MSNBC, people on the left. They're like, well, you the reason you're seeing violence is because you won't give them what they want. So you should just give them what they want. No, if you give them what they want, then they will commit more violence after that because they know that it works. So you can't let it work. I feel like I want to be involved. But the internet is crazy, you know. What am I supposed to do? I can tell you guys, and you can be in, you know, have the idea, understand the concept. That little bit, you're going to share it with other people. I might never actually see like the overall, you know, like I get directly rewarded for it or something like that. But it does change people. It does change the conversation. Even one person saying things can like have an effect on the conversation. I can only hope. We're having a Fed speaker talking about consumer spending and saying that, you know, consumer spending tends to be okay until people lose their jobs. Have you guys seen these statistics like this Sparkin, by the way, talking about it. 50% of consumer spending comes from the top 10% of income earners. How is that possible? I don't understand how that can be true. Like, if it was that imbalanced, then there would be certain industries that are relying on the bottom portion of income earners would be hurting crazy hard. And that would be causing unemployment and causing unemployment to edge up. So how can it be that it, like, the top 10%, it doesn't make sense to me. And unless the labor market is not as strong as it appears, even after all of these revisions and numbers and stuff. What time is it? 7:17. CTA, com hedging. Yeah, okay, so you know what? In the trading sphere, I'm just kind of like, well, if I have an idea, let's just go with it, because we're gonna have a change to the pattern day trader rule. Day trader rule is going away. I think that if you're gonna scalp stocks, you still have a problem with wash trading, right? So if you're gonna scalp stocks, you're probably going to have to declare it on your taxes the year before and all that sort of stuff, so that you don't have to deal with wash trading. I really think this is going to flip the industry on its head, and it's kind of weird to me that I don't see that many people preparing for it. Like, I still see people coming in and talking about, like, prop trading and stuff like that. Why would you waste your time with prop trading if you could just day trade stocks? $2,000 in day trade stocks. I don't get it. Do you think... I don't think that prop trading will be as popular after the pattern day trading rule goes away. What do you think? Am I wrong? Maybe it will have no effect. Maybe I'm wrong and won't have any effect. Netanyahu is speaking at the UN. Did you see the whole thing? Yes, about they were talking about annexing the West Bank, and Donald Trump said, "I won't allow them to do that." That was kind of interesting. I'm kind of sitting there watching that like, well, I don't think that Israel will do it if he says don't do it. But if he says don't do it and they try to annex it anyways, what are you going to do about it? You know? Octavia says I'll move to TLT. Yeah, there you go. They'll probably just fill the stock side with prop firms. Well, I don't know if the prop firm kind of formula works as well with stocks. There are some prop firms that supposedly do stocks, but like they're not popular. Part of the reason why it works with futures is because of the leverage involved with futures. Scaling will be way better, plus commissions should be much lower. Yeah, because in a lot of cases, you're not paying any commission. Yeah. The only problem is wash trading rule. Now, if they change the wash trading rule to be that you can declare yourself a trader after the fact, then there's really nothing holding people back. No, the zero hedge headline after the news this morning is Fed's favorite inflation indicator shows no sign of runaway tariff costs as saving rate slides. Well, we're at the bottom of the range here. Algo's made a few ticks off of that. Two ticks. Kind of don't like the way that it shows the positions. It's like covers too much up, you know? Oh, I know what the other political thing that we haven't talked about is. Should I even step into this one? There are some political events that have been happening that I've just been outright avoiding talking about. But no, did you guys see the oh man, what is the name of this organization? You know, that the guys that go in and like secretly record conversations and do these exposés and stuff like that. And they had this one where a U.S. prosecutor who says that he's talked to all of the victims and all of this stuff, said to somebody, and the conversation was overheard and recorded, said that Epstein was a CIA asset. Did you see that one? Is there still people talk? Because that was 2 days ago, wasn't it? Yeah, so it's surprising to me that hasn't taken off more. When I was watching that video, so first of all, I should say I'm a little bit skeptical of the story, to be honest with you. But when I was listening to it, I was so shocked, because what was shocking about it to me wasn't that maybe he was an asset, because I've said here on a couple of occasions that there might be an intelligence agency involved, and that might be why they're so dodgy about it, right? But what surprised me was that there could be people like a U.S. prosecutor running around knowing this stuff, telling people about it, and it's still this huge secret that the government is able to keep under wraps. How does that work? Which is kind of maybe why I'm a little bit skeptical about this story. Maybe he doesn't actually know, and that's what he thinks, but he doesn't know for sure, you know? That's my guess. Well, we just got another, 2, 3, 4 ticks. That is definitely a move, not a move that I saw coming. I do think, given the timing of it, that it's probably, what I said earlier. Remember what I said at the very beginning when I was like, well, we've kind of had a sell-off in assets across the board because that looks like that they're thinking that the Federal Reserve has done enough, and they're not expecting lower rates now. So there's some deleveraging going on and things like that. Ergo, it would probably continue through to the end of the week, and that might be what we're seeing going on now. Okay, so Uzi says the first stop is the 0607. So we're getting close to it. Unfortunately, the robot will not take profits until 06. I must say, by the way, the amount of imbalance on that move was really strong. I mean, we definitely had 7K net change down in cumulative delta, but it was almost 63% net sell. To see that my indicator at my market order imbalance at 37, that's a really strong amount of imbalance. So a really strong flow came through here. Normally I would think that a flow that out of the blue and strong would have to be based on news. But in this case, I think it may just be because the S&P 500 is about to open up. But here again, the robot caught it. You know what? If you could make an indicator like this that worked like this, but on daily bars, which is to say that like every time that we got to move, it seems to catch it, right? If you were able to make something that effective on daily bars, that you could then hold them, that would be an insanely profitable algorithm, I think. Yeah. I suppose we could develop a net imbalance for the day sort of a thing and see it try to take trades based on that. That could be interesting. You see, that was the whole thing was, okay, should I spend more time building my own platform, or should I switch and start spending a ton of time doing these machine learning algorithms? I think we'll have time for both. I don't think that I have to pick. And I'm hoping that we can have some time this weekend, maybe, to deal with it. Though I do need to start writing a script. I got to figure out some. They want me to look at another KVM switch. So I got to figure out how I'm going to make that one interesting. Okay, so it does look like maybe they've found a temporary bottomish area. I didn't quite get to 07. I'm concerned, like, I think that if I was managing the trade, I would see that they're forming a liquidity hole at 08 half and would take it off there. The robot's probably going to try and hold it for an hour, and a counter flip will happen before that. And by the time that the order flow switches to a 53% imbalance in favor of long, it'll have given up like half of the range. So it won't get as many contracts. Is that really only six ticks, huh? Okay. Okay, I'm hearing on the news squawk. One of the things that happened overnight was Donald Trump announced some new tariffs, and he said that for pharmaceuticals in particular, that there will be a tariff on the pharmaceutical if they are not also building in the United States. Like he was saying, if you've got a project and there's shovels in the ground and things like that, then you won't be charged the tariff. But otherwise, we are going to charge you the tariff. And now what just came over the news squawk is that they're talking about the same thing for semiconductors. Let's see here. They're going to be interesting. We are in a liquidity hole. I am seeing the cumulative delta try to rebalance a little bit. Oh, man. There's another thing. It was really like the news at the beginning of the week was kind of slow, and then like a lot of things happened past 2 days. Another one is that what's with this? They're calling a meeting for like all U.S. generals. They're calling them all into one location. How is that allowed? What is going on there? That seems really bizarre to me, and it's probably going to end up being like nothing. But that one really piques my curiosity.
Order canceled.
Because you know what time it is? I don't think I do. No. Some people were saying that it was going to be about like, you need to cut out your woke stuff and support the president better. Some sort of a loyalty test type of meeting. Other people. Also, we bombed another drug boat. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Other people think that it's about aliens. Other people think that it's about a potential war with Russia. So like just the theories and everything are like absolutely wild, right? Probably is going to be a nothing burger, but whatever. My curiosity is peaked. That downtick, that last downtick there at 08.5 was a little brutal. That was definitely a big player trying to push it. I wish I could describe it. It's like, you know, the bid was kind of doing its thing. It was maybe starting to get a little bit confident, and as soon as they get confident and start putting their bids, then he comes in and he smacks it, and there's another tick. That was definitely a large meta order executor saying, okay, it's time to move this a little bit again. I don't know if that one, with the situation, I don't think that it would be time to move it for like another full leg, but maybe kind of just shift the range a little bit to try and encourage more volume in the area. Or at the very least to touch 07.
Order cancelled.
That's interesting. Well, I don't like that trade though, but it did flip. The algo did kind of get out where we wanted. I would have gotten it one tick better, but I would have not gotten in a counter trade. I'm kind of wondering. Now we're getting pretty big iceberg at 08. ZF went to evens. Ah, good observation. Well, not quite. It hasn't touched it, but it's one tick away from it. ZB is also very, very close to evens. Treasuries is at a quarter. That's a little, like if you're looking at it from an options perspective, wouldn't they rather it go all the way to 112 even? But that feels like too big of a move, you know? CF window here is 317 to 002. Evens seems appropriate. I would also say that the move on this next leg down has been it's more consistent in the 5-year. Do you see in the 5-year cumulative delta has just been consistently down the whole time, whereas in ZN it kind of went and then it came back and it's gone a little bit again. So I think in this situation that price level in the 5-year could be a little bit more important. You're getting another Fed speaker at the moment. Is that barking? Oh, you know, I forgot. There is University of Michigan numbers at the top of the hour. $317 goes in ZF, then the target is 302. Really? Sure, it sure seems like they've slowed down a bit since that big iceberg at 08, though. In the 10-year. Yeah, you got room in ZN if 06 breaks down to evens. Like, that would be a really big move for the day, wouldn't it? Well, Barkin is speaking. He could certainly say something that could move them. But I'm a little bit skeptical of them doing something like that before the University of Michigan number. That's kind of why, like, So this move kind of is in a weird spot. Like, the timing of it is unusual. The timing of it was unusual. It was a decent amount of volume. It's only down like 3 ticks from where it was. So I'm still leaning towards that they're kind of stirring the pot a little bit. But we'll see. I don't feel like I have a discretionary trade set up here for this. Unless we continue to see absorption, University of Michigan number kind of like ends up being a dud, and then maybe we could justify a mean reversion trade. Okay, 4K to take 07.5. Oh, they took 07 pretty quickly. That doesn't look very good for 07 holding, does it? Trump is speaking to reporters at the White House. She looks like she wants more down. Well, it looks like there's more market sell orders, yeah. Market makers seem to be willing to take the fills in this location, though. Okay, 9K at 07. Down tick, strong offer. A little bit of a nibble at 06.5. And 07 was the original kind of like key level, right? Book looks like she wants more down. That's a good point. There is a lot more on the offer than there is on the bid, isn't there? I don't know. Maybe they are taking a trade ahead of the University of Michigan. Maybe they think they know something big about that number. Because, I mean, when we saw that big move down, the first one, it was kind of like, well, yeah, but the S&P 500 is about to open up. Well, the S&P 500, since it's opened up, has been up. Isn't that number just partisan accurate anyway? Yeah, but the algos still care. I'm not going to be able to be around to see how it plays out, but it's definitely catching my attention, isn't it? I should recenter. Trump says the economic numbers are great. I don't know, guys. All of this movement this week has me really thinking about TLT positions, about bailing on TLT positions. Zien's trying so hard to hold that spot. It's 23K now at 07. And that bid at 06 half looks pretty confident too. Like, it is not scared of the 4 or 5K that they're putting up on the offer at all. Oh, okay, so they traded a bit of it. It's still holding. In fact, they're putting a little bit more on. I don't know, guys. Oh, wow. Okay, 9K iceberg on the offer. I'm a little bit nervous seeing that much volume trade hands 5 minutes before a major news release, even though it's like a what I would consider a B tier release now. It used to be an A tier release, but I feel like it's a B tier release. Okay, uptick. They cleared the offer, strong bid behind it. Give it a whack, hit the offer, stop at 55. Wait, 55. Hit the offer. Wouldn't that be a buy? Must have misspoke. Wouldn't because I'm kind of thinking, well, I don't know. Do I want to put bets on that it's going to hold? I do feel like that the way that they upticked there was strongly in favor of that range holding. Although I'm not very confident about the probability of being right here. I'm just seeing that's the spot. You could buy 07 half.
Canceled.
What would be your like your target and your stop if you were going long 07 half here? Because I'm having a hard time. Maybe it would go back to the opening range, like 10. And there's another uptick. Target 17. What? All the way up there? Wait, well, how do you get that? Oh, man. Okay. If the news is crazy. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I hear you. You could be long 07 half and have your limit order at 17 half just in case the news did something crazy. Yeah. Okay. But if the news isn't great, like if the news is a nothing burger and then we just do a mean reversion move, where do we think we would go to? I think I would have it at 09. I think I'd have it at 09. Ew, so when you think of it from that perspective, it's not a very good trade, is it? It's only like 3 or 4 ticks. Okay, here we go. 30 seconds. Okay, he says 12 to 13. Yeah, 12 to 13 could be reasonable too. But that would be, I think that would be more than a mean reversion. That would be retracing the whole down move that we've had. Okay. Well, so here the numbers coming out. 1 year inflation 4.7 versus 4.8 expected, so slightly lower than expected. And 5 year 3.7 versus 3.9. So inflation slightly less than expected. They are moving up. They didn't clear, but they touched 09. I really want to hold, sit here and see how this turns out, but I can look at the chart when I get into work. I don't think in this case, like 4 ticks is worth it, But we'll see. It does kind of look like it's going to come back. Better than expected, at least, so that's good. Okay, guys. I have a good weekend. I hope I can be focused and get some stuff done. We'll see what's going on, what my wife wants to do. She's going to be home this weekend. I will catch you guys on Monday. In the meantime, stay excellent, team.